to your user Portrait of Crack Addicts series. You portray drug users living on the streets of Ottawa and there's a good mix of physical, social, as well as emotional representation in the photos. And which one do you attempt to emphasize the most out of all three when photographing them?
I say, and I'm sticking to it, is all I'm trying to do is take interesting pictures.
Okay.
And how they come out is how they come out. And I think I touched on that earlier of the person going out to do something brings their biases and their prejudices and their histories and their aesthetic predilections to the process, and then that all comes out as something. And I know that that works being it gets attacked a lot. People say that I'm exploiting the people that I'm photographing, which I think we touched on before about the whole objectification
Yeah.
question. It's kind of funny. I was there on the street shooting last year, and there's certain people that know what I do. They've seen the work, and when they see me working, they come over. Well, actually, they don't hardly ever come over. They walk by and they attack me verbally. They say there's this businessman that every time he sees me, he says nasty stuff. He says, the last time I saw him, he says, what you're doing is disgusting. He says, that's not art. You should be ashamed of yourself. And I said, dude, what's wrong? He says, you're just exploiting these people. And Greg, a crack addict I'd photographed, just finished photographing, was standing beside me. And I said, whoa, dude. And he actually stopped that time. I said, Greg, like, am I exploiting you? And Greg says, I'm exploiting myself. And I just looked at the businessman and said, it's like, you know, what do you, like, I mean, I get what you're talking about, but it seems like you're criticizing something you don't understand. So anyway, there's all that I sort of had to learn. Now, it used to sort of make me feel a little uncomfortable. Now I just giggle when I piss people off. When the New York Times ran the thing on their blog, there was all these people that would attack me for the work in the comments. I don't know if you read the comments in their blog, but what was interesting is people started attacking me in the comments, and then other people wrote in that would attack my attackers. So I mean, that to me it's when stuff like that started happening, I was sort of taken by surprise because I never thought any of that stuff through. Oh, this is going to be controversial, or people are going to see it this way or that way. I was just going out trying to take interesting pictures. That's all I was doing. And then all of a sudden you had these sort of two factions of people that were analyzing the pictures one way, and for a while I was sort of upset, and then I just sort of started giggling, and I thought to myself, wow, I guess I'm doing something right. And I got used to the idea of being attacked. But what I thought was really interesting is in the New York Times photo blog, right near the end of the comments, this woman writes in, her name's Morgan. She's a crack addict I photographed. She wrote in, she said, I'm number 16 in the slideshow. And she went on to describe the day I took her picture. She remembered. She remembered being photographed. She remembered what she was trying to project into the camera. She talked about that. She'd been straight for 3 months at that point. She was arrested, and she had a choice of going to jail or going to drug court. So she went to drug court and was in rehab. She was actually a heroin addict, not a crack addict. And she talked about how when I met her, she'd been working in a pet store until she resumed her heroin habit. And then she fell back onto the street. But she talked in the New York Times thing about how she wanted to work for animal welfare now. So that you could see a continuity of what I talked to her about and what she was about. And then she concluded her comment by saying, I don't mind having my picture up here for the world to see, because I think it's important for people to see things like that. So I mean, that I was really touched when you see the loop closing. A lot of people think, specifically with the crack stuff, that the subjects have no agency, they have no input. But if you were actually there when I was photographing them, you would see that they're actually, well, first of all, I often wonder what people think of when they think of the word crack addict. And I think that usually they think of a subhuman who can't put two words together, but actually there's creativity and humanity and a lot of intelligence on that corner. It just so happens that, maybe you were gang raped by your uncle and 4 of his friends for 4 years, and you have the choice of thinking about it or thinking about getting crack. Pick your poison. And there's a lot of some mental illness down there as well, schizophrenia and people that self-medicate. But I think most of the people I've talked with there come from abusive upbringings, and the pain of being addicted is better than the pain of remembering your upbringing. So, the people, when I'm photographing them, the addicts, you can actually see them thinking about how they want to portray themselves and projecting that into the camera. They're all acting when I'm photographing them, and I'm helping them. I'm sort of giving them the platform, and I'm talking to them, and we're talking about, well, maybe we should do this or maybe we should do that. But you can actually see how they're all aware they're being photographed, and they're all projecting an image that they think the world, outside world, should see into my lens. It's totally fascinating to see. I think they often do that more than a businessman or just a guy on the street. I think they're more aware of how to act and how to project and how to take their agenda and work with me to move it forward. So I mean, I call them collaborations, and they are. I mean, if you stood and watched us, you would see that they were very It's a very collaborative process. I'm not sure that was your question, but.
Yeah, no, perfect. I think we pretty much covered everything. I could ask the other ones, but I mean, it was like.
That's Joss. Like I can pull up a picture I shot 5 years ago in Mississippi and point to a guy and tell you his name.
Oh, yeah.
It's I don't know why. It's
Do you
just.
keep in touch with them afterwards?
I send them all copies. It's a huge project to keep track of. We shoot Polaroids and get model releases, and then I make prints of everyone I photograph and put them in envelopes and send them out. And mostly it's like dropping it down a well. People you never hear, right? But occasionally someone will write back and say, "Oh, thanks very much for the picture. Can you send me more or something?" You know, they always want more somehow or other. The people that write back, typically, but usually it's just like they get in the mail and they've probably even forgotten I photographed them, because sometimes it takes a few months to get back to them. But no, I think it's important to, if someone's going to give me their time and their image. I know if I was walking down the street and some guy came up and said, well, this would be a paraphrase or the subtext, "Excuse me, can you give me 15 minutes while I recontextualize you?" I would go, "No, I don't think so." And a lot of people are going to see it. I'd say no. One of the reasons I think you see, and this is a total aside, you see so many pictures of people in especially street portraits of people who aren't middle class and above, is because the middle class are too busy making money, or they're in a rush to go somewhere, and they're also too worried about they have too much to lose in terms of having their image out there, where typically addicts and sort of people in small towns in the States, where I typically go to, they're way more open to that kind of thing. They're not going anywhere, and they don't really have that much to lose. So it's sort of this sad commentary on, I've tried photographing bourgeois people on the street, but you know, for every 100 people you ask, one will say yes. And with the people I photograph, for every 100 people you ask, 99 will say yes. So it's sort of easier for me. Plus, to tell you the truth, and I think that, and Justin was over looking at some of my work a while ago, and he was talking about how I go places, I go places where people don't normally go. I mean, that's what I'm interested in. I'm not really interested in the bourgeois life too much. I mean, I'm interested in my own comfort, obviously, but you know, I go to small towns. I remember the first time I went to Mississippi, I said I'm going into the back country of Mississippi, and half the people I talked to said, "You're going to get killed." And I said, I think you're thinking about movies. I don't think you're thinking about real life, you know. And we went to Mississippi, and we were in like deep in the back country, and you know, mostly small black towns, and everyone we met was full of grace and interest, and were really lovely people. So I love going places where typically people don't go. You know, like I would never go to Las Vegas. I would go to Reno, Nevada. If I was going to go to Nevada, I wouldn't go to Vegas because everyone goes to Vegas. I'd go to Reno because no one goes to Reno. Same